Good evening, people. This is the second of these podcasts that myself, Martisa Falcon, and the wonderful Eloise have come together to produce for you all. Thank you very much for watching and subscribing for the last video. That was fantastic. We got over 100 views and we were all very pleased. So if you like the content, please don't forget to subscribe and watch it multiple times if you want, because everything helps and it makes us feel happy. So this week, we're going to do New Year's Revolution 2006. A very sus pay-per-view, as I've just been discussing with my co-host there, to pick. But there's lots to talk about, and it is batshit crazy.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it, yeah. It's batshit crazy, definitely one way to describe it.
So, without further ado, we will crack on. So we begin the pay-per-view with Flair versus Edge, or Ric Flair versus Edge. It doesn't need me to introduce him. Everybody remembers Ric Flair. One of the greatest of all time, as he likes to point out to everybody over and over and over again.
Woo.
Went on a little bit too long, but it's still...
Yeah, the build up to this match, me and I watched all the Raws on the way leading up to it. It's probably not the best idea, seeing as it was a bit of a waste of time. I was about
They were,
8 hours of my life.
And there's certainly some interesting viewing.
Yes,
I watched some of them.
Yeah. I think you watched the first 3 or 4. I think would be.
Yeah.
So you always watched the first 3 or 4 with me. The build up to this match, basically Ric Flair. I think can't remember if there was a hype package first, but Ric Flair had like a road rage incident in real life before the.
Did he? Whoa.
Yes.
Definitely wasn't mentioned so many times.
Yes.
I just constantly would mention it.
Yeah, he had a road rage about just after Survivor Series, I think, and the entire build for this baby was essentially Edge just saying, "Ric Flair, you're shit, and you did a road rage, and you're old, and you got divorced." Basically, that was the entire build for this, which. I mean, I suppose it makes sense with Edge sort of trying to just piss off the old veteran, but just saying he's old and stuff. But yeah, it seems a bit in bad taste.
Yeah, it's a throwaway thing as well, because the Intercontinental title match should mean something.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Edge versus Ric Flair should be a very interesting match to watch. And it was, to be fair. It was a decent match, I would say. The end was literally like, this didn't really matter, folks, because it's clear what Edge is going to do later on. Hint, hint. So it was just thrown away and lost, really, wasn't it, in the moment? The whole... I mean, we'll get to the ending, but the way it ended with the sort of bump on Lita thing, they didn't even bother playing that up very much, did they? Because Lita just walked away from it. So if you're going to get vengeance by whacking someone with the briefcase, there needs to be a good reason. And it was just like, oh well, I'll just throw away this chance at potentially being a double champion. Because I'm angry because he's touched my girlfriend.
Yeah, essentially.
It wasn't played up very well, and it was thrown away.
Yeah,
wasn't it? So
this really felt like a very sort of classic Ric Flair match from this sort of era, where he basically did his usual many chops, and yes, lots of wooing. Did some chops. Did like his basically wrestling moves from like his era, like the 1980s, 1870s even, depending on Ric Flair was wrestling.
1870s.
57.
Like you said, 1870s.
Let's remember though, 57 years old.
That is fair. Yeah.
The guy's stamina is ridiculous. Because
guess what? He's still wrestling. He
I know.
Had his retirement match. He's probably going to go for another one.
He nearly died, didn't he? A year ago, 18 months ago. Did he have a heart attack or something? And he's still going.
Supposedly,
there wasn't really much. Like, you can't really point anything out about the match other than the finish, and like the finish was basically Flair getting a figure 4 and Lita, and then Edge, as you say, just whacking him the briefcase. And of course, Ric
Yeah.
Flair bleeds because it's Ric Flair. What a surprise!
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
I-
shot. Ric Flair
I actually
bleeding in every
wrote
match.
Flair blades, surprise, surprise.
Yeah,
Oh.
what a surprise!
He loved bleeding. It was his
Yeah,
thing.
uh,
To be fair, the other thing I wanted to mention is that Stone Cold came back recently, didn't he, to fight Kevin Owens?
Yeah.
Have a match against Kevin Owens. It reminded me of that a little bit, where Stone Cold came back and was very sort of, he could do about 10%, 20% of
Yeah.
yeah,
what he could do. To be fair, Ric Flair's doing a lot more than Stone Cold did when he came back. Stone Cold's was just mud stomps from my memory of that match.
So
He just got him in the corner and mud stomped
Yeah.
him 17 times.
Yeah,
so
and
just
then
some hardcore stuff, basically, wasn't it?
and
Yeah.
kind of like stiff arms, and then signatures and finishes. That's it, really. But to be honest,
Yeah.
I wasn't that impressed by Ric Flair. I've seen better Ric Flair matches. That wasn't a very good Ric Flair match from that time period. I think that match, if Edge didn't, I would have rated it lower, and I thought I thought it was crap anyway. But
Well, I
they
mean,
really didn't care about the opener there.
Yeah.
You know.
no, that's probably why it wasn't such a good match, because presumably Ric Flair wasn't very pleased.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he had
Um,
some sort of tantrum.
Ric Flair wants to be the star, even if he is 57.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did he win it? Was it 16 times or
Yeah,
something?
16 times, or depending what sources you go for, even more. Like,
Yeah.
it depends on what, because of the whole WWE is all a bit hand wavy with some NWA stuff because they just don't really care, probably.
The other thing I'll just point out before we get to scores is that Coach's commentary annoyed me.
Yeah.
Coach is rubbish.
Yeah, we've got Joey Styles and Coach running commentary to start off with because of Jerry Lawrence.
Yeah, it's crap.
Jerry Lawrence
And-
involved later on. Let's just say that.
Jerry doesn't improve it either. It's not very good commentary
No.
lineup.
I don't
in my opinion.
mind Styles. Like, I'm probably biased because he was actually
Bland.
quite good in ECW. But,
He's fine.
yeah,
He's
he,
just
like,
very bland, very kind of
yeah.
But I
Like a-
mean,
like
like
a worse Michael Cole.
in the
a lot
last
worse.
pod, in the last pod, of course, we had Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
He was fantastic
Mhm.
with JR. They were brilliant.
Mhm.
And then the King's the King, puppies and all the rest of it. But he's very, very good at what he does, which is why he did
We'll
it
get
for as
lots
long
of
as he
that.
did.
Yeah, we've got a lot of
We'll
that
get lots
later
of
on,
that
don't
later.
we?
We will, yes. So my score for the opener is a B- because I love Ric Flair. And I do like blading because I'm old school. I don't like too much blading. It has to be used tastefully. And to be
Agree.
whacked in the head with a briefcase is as good an opportunity to blade as any. So I'm going to give it a B minus. I'm going to give it because I really like it. And of course, it is Edge versus Ric Flair, which is really cool. What we'd give for that these days, because a lot of what we get these days is dross. So
I don't want to see that. I personally don't want to see that now.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to see Flair. I don't want to see Ric Flair in the ring. So
no,
I
not at the age. Not at the age they're at now. No, now
maybe
he's
at the
nearly
prime,
80.
yeah, at the prime, of course, but not
not
right now in a ring. No thanks. No thank you.
At the age of 57, he was good enough for me. I thought he was fine. The pace he worked at was decent. You know, a lot faster than what
Yeah.
Big Show manages later on.
Yeah,
Big
that
Show
is
was
fair enough,
diabolical.
yeah.
So he to be moving like that at that age. I'm 34. I'm a broken down old wreck. To be moved like that at 57 is very, very impressive. So B minus from Tim.
I'm gonna go for a C minus for this one, mainly because this is, as I said, very, very Flair match at this period. But arguably slightly worse, as Eloise said, and also ended in the DQ, which was just a bit shit for an opener, really. The DQ obviously helped set up something later on, like, you know, the very obvious on the nose. Hey, there's a briefcase. I wonder what's gonna happen. But yeah, it seems like they could have put something else there and had this a bit like in the middle of the card, maybe. Because does this get the crowd excited? A DQ finish with Flair being whacked in the face by a briefcase? Not really. Yeah, Eloise?
D. I didn't enjoy it, and I feel like a DQ match you can't give it too much higher than that. It was just a nothing match, really. I suppose it does storytelling, but because obviously that continues their feud, because they will then continue the feud further on, because he's in a certain segment, the next Raw that we can talk about later.
Yes,
He's in that.
Yes.
he's in that next. He's in that the next Raw. So it does a story. It does a story business. You know, it does a story. But like if I'm ranking for a match, shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
Speaking of
Fair enough.
segments, we've got before the next match we have a backstage interview, but a television with Kurt Angle.
No.
And
Oh, it's
yeah,
dreadful.
and
I wrote
the moment I
this
saw
down.
this interview, I immediately recognized, oh shit, it's this interview. Oh no. So, do I want to go through it? So,
Don't
Angle.
have to go for it.
So, I mean, I'm gonna go for it anyway. So, Angle says, Angle says he hopes the US loses the war in Iraq. I mean, he's been going on quite an anti-troop thing on Raw, so that makes sense. The best country is France. Presume that's because of the Iraq war thing, I guess.
There's a bad one coming up, folks. Brace yourselves.
He is not a fan of the black people. That's the words he literally said. And he also wants to tap out Jesus, which is
That was the best.
that was about that was the best one. Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I had to wind it back and watch it again because I didn't believe he'd said the words.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. 2006. This isn't a hell of a long time ago, was it?
No, not
No.
I wonder if that was his decision or if he was given the script.
Oh, he would have been given that. He
Yeah,
wouldn't have been
I think
allowed
so.
to say that,
Yeah.
would he? If they didn't mean him to, it would have been taken off the network. How is it still on the network?
Oh,
How
dear.
is it still on the network?
I mean, wait, is this before? I think this is after the whole Vince saying the slur to Booker T.
Oh, yeah. When he and Cena were in the same room together, and he called Cena his N word.
Yes. Oh yeah,
And then
yes.
Booker T
Booker T
there.
was in the
Then
yes.
they did a comedy thing about it.
And that was like 2005, I think. So
Oh,
it's
dear
not
God.
too
interesting.
out of the question
Yeah.
because this is
Yeah.
Vince.
There is a difference in that film and this one because Angle sort of makes the point that the fans will cheer him whatever he says, which to be fair is right considering the fans were just cheering.
Yeah,
anyway.
he has got a point, but you can't say those things.
And he basically says he's the best wrestler, and he won the title again tonight, and he won his first title here, which was true at the previous pay-per-view that was in this arena, which is Vengeance 2003. He beat The Big Show and Brock Lesnar to win his. Well, I don't think it was the first, but it was he won the WWE Championship here in the previous pay-per-view.
No, it definitely wasn't his first.
No,
He
definitely wasn't his
won
first.
it
But,
long before that.
I swear he said his first, but I
Yeah,
think about it, it definitely wasn't his first.
Because I think his first Jerry. He won 2 of the singles titles. He won the Intercontinental
Yeah.
US.
2001, I think, would have been the year he won his first one.
Yes.
That was his first year as breakout
Yeah.
year. He won 2
Yeah,
titles.
2 titles. Yeah.
So that would have been his first WWE championship.
No,
His
that
first
could have been like his first specific type of
big belt.
or whatever. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened, and then we moved straight into the women's championship match between Trish Stratus and Mickie James.
Yeah, which is it's a shame it got ruined by the incredibly sus storyline that they came up with.
Yeah.
Because those two are very, very, very good at what they do. As you can see, because the match was actually very good. If you take the context out, it's a very good match.
Yeah. So essentially, the storyline is Mickey's been sort of stalking Trish and basically just being a big fangirl, just supposedly at least.
It's basically sort of saying lesbians are strange, isn't it?
Yes, yes. There is very much a lesbian angle to it, and of course
that was the angle.
Yeah, and of course they make it very much on the nose on the December 26th episode where they just snog each other,
kiss,
basically.
Yeah,
and
it sells. The sex sells,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, by today's standards, it's abhorrent.
Yeah.
But back then, they did what made them money.
Yeah.
So, and I think as well, like I've said, I'll probably say this a few times in this one. If you look at the card and compare it to the last pay-per-view that we reviewed, I know it's WrestleMania and all the rest of it, but you've got Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker. This is missing all of those dudes. It's relying on Triple H and Shawn Michaels. At the age Shawn Michaels is at, they're not they're stars, but they're not covering the weight of The Rock and Stone Cold, are they? So in order to compensate for that, they go extreme with the sus elements.
Yeah,
and there's an even worse example later on in the pay-per-view where they go extreme with that.
Yeah, I don't think it helps that this is currently the era of when they were doing, I think it was 2 pay-per-views a month, because this was a Raw pay-per-view, we had SmackDown pay-per-views as well.
Yeah, we're doing Raw
So
and SmackDown.
so the roster, which was not massive, is already quite is going to be stretched even thinner during this pay-per-view. Which you can, I mean, they, I think all the matches had like reasonable levels of talent, apart from one, which we'll get into next. But yeah, this is it's sort of an issue with the having like the brand split thing, because the undercard is just going to be full with guff basically, because they can't build. I mean, it's something that I noted. All the hype packages were all about the Elimination Chamber. Didn't mention any other matches. Just Elimination Chamber.
I mean, big deal.
It's a big deal, but there are other matches on the card. It's very much a one-match show, and like
yeah,
but it made me cringe every time we got one of those weird promos with Mickie James really trying her best to make something out of she clearly wasn't comfortable doing.
Yeah.
And Trish must have just been as equally as awkward about it all, to be honest, because they just want to be in a match. They just want to do that. They clearly worked hard on the match as well.
Yeah.
The story of the match was very, very good.
Yeah.
I loved the storytelling element of wrestling, and it was very, very good.
Yeah.
But then there's just them sus elements that just destroyed it, unfortunately, which is a real shame.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like this match is really, really good. Like full women's match of the series, especially, this is like really, really good. Like,
in this era, when it wasn't taken so seriously, because lots of the women's matches in this era were about 3 minutes long.
Yeah, well, most of them, not the one later. We will get onto that, but yes, most of them. Yeah, it's sort of the match where they sort of like Trish and Mickey are sort of like almost equals to each other at the start, where they've got doing the lockups, and then they sort of know each other's counters, or like sort of top each other's moves. Like I think Mickey stopped not the Stratisfaction, the one off the top rope. I've forgotten the name of it. Stratosphere, that's the one. Stratosphere. Yeah. And Mickey then hits one of her own towards the end of the match. Because Mickey essentially knows Trish inside and out. That does sound a bit wrong, considering the whole lesbian aspect of the storyline. But you know what I mean? Like she knows all the moves and can counter them well and all that sort of stuff. So it's
the chick kick, I think, was it called at the end?
Yeah.
That was the one that ended.
Yeah.
But sold beautifully.
Yep.
Very good finish. So the actual match, I've given a B-, but the storyline I refuse to rate because it's abhorrent.
Yeah, I'm going to go for B- as well, because the match was just very genuinely enjoyable, to be honest. Like they can actually watch that and go, yeah, that's quite good.
Yeah. So I'll just add something on before I give my rating. Is I'm confused at who's meant to be face and who's meant to be heel, because it's almost like they're making Mickey heel, but Trish in the build-up was so unlikable in my opinion, because she was just being complainy and rude, but she was meant to be cheered for. So it confused me. The build-up was. I don't think it's either their faults. The build-up wasn't very good, but
because their primary concern wasn't those two women having a good match. Their primary concern was teenage boys liking it.
Yeah.
And sus older gentlemen liking it. That was the point, which is very sad.
But yeah,
and thankfully it's not like that anymore, so we can move on and look back at this and go, that was ridiculous.
But yeah, I give that a C. It was okay match.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe weighed down by a couple things, but it was good. It was decent. It was decent.
Yeah, it's probably one of that's arguably say maybe the best match on the undercard.
Yeah,
like
probably.
Well, I disagree, but
yeah, I mean it's at least one of the best two matches on the card.
Still disagree,
Okay.
but
we'll
I'm probably very wrong in that opinion,
Yeah.
and you can insult me for that when we get to it.
So moving on,
we've got another segment in between these. Maria interviews herself backstage before the Brian Panties Gauntlet match. Yes, that happened. And then
Irritating.
Helms interrupts. Just to point out the match you're going to see. Shane Helms involved. And I'll talk about the build. There wasn't any build for this. And says she'll be interviewing him while they're wasting time on this. And look, and he says look, and he says Lola won't be on the same Puppies German match. Which I put thank God. Then I realised later on that he was lying. Which was frustrating. And then we've also got a segment with Shelton on his mum backstage, saying who says Shelton has something to eat back from catering.
Yeah.
Then we got a WWE.com thing originally to that. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, this is the Viscera ones. This is the Viscera promo.
That's
later.
Yeah, that's after this match. We will talk about that.
It's just them talking in the locker room.
Yeah,
I remember now.
Yeah, it's them talking in the corridor basically.
Man.
So
Lawler versus Helms. Dreadful dross filler garbage nonsense. Crowd is dead. Feels like filler. Going through the motions. These are all the things I've written down. Everything feels very basic. There's a decent little spot where Helms goes on the comms to give, but basically the point of it was to let Lawler have a bit of a rest because he was old and tired and really, really struggled to keep up. What a terrible combination of people as well. So you've got somebody who's very high flying and fast and relies on being quick and running around and nimble. And the oldest man, I would imagine, on the card, or Ric Flair. Is he? No, he's probably younger than Ric Flair, isn't he?
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
Just about.
I think so.
They're about of similar age, I would have thought.
They're from a similar era, aren't they?
So, yeah, it clashed horribly. Crowd was completely dead. Diabolical nonsense. And the finish. Yeah, the finish. Imagine being Gregory Helms there.
Yeah.
You've lost to the oldest man in the world who has no future.
Yep.
He's just literally there for a one-off sort of guest cameo appearance, and they've kept Helms down to give him a win because they didn't care about Helms after his hurricane gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, this he's sort of hitting it on the head there. This character was just a bit shit. Like, what is it? He's just generic, arrogant, bad guy. Number
angry,
70. Angry, I guess, but it sort of shows that how much they care about this match. That the build-up was like a WWE.com interview with Shane Helms, and then Lawler basically just made fun of him in the ring for a bit. Then Shane started to. Then they had a bit of a tussle. Then the match was made. Yes, that was the entire build. With like 1 week to go, they decided to just chuck this match in there for. The match, I'd say, considering Lawler's stuff, it could have been worse. But it was very much held down by the fact Jerry Lawler is not the most. Like, again, it's probably stuff not from our era. That is like stuff from like the 1980s in Memphis. That we just don't really understand because we've never watched it. But yeah, Jerry Lawler is Jerry Lawler is he's just going through the motions of whatever what he's been doing for the past 30 odd years.
I will say I do sort of disagree because you're focusing on Jerry Lawler as the issue, whereas I don't think he was the issue in that match. I think Gregory Helms was worse, and that was one of the better Jerry Lawler matches I've seen, and I didn't hate for his age and for what he is. I didn't hate him in that match. I thought Gregory Helms was awful and certainly just trying to not be as high flyer flippy just doesn't suit him. And
or is it that Jerry Lawler couldn't? Yeah, is it that Jerry Lawler couldn't take the bumps anymore, though?
I mean, you could have easily had someone flippy around him, you know?
Yeah, it could have been miles. You are right. It could have been miles better on his part, but it was just filler, wasn't it? They didn't care.
Yeah, like him trying to be less of a flippy, more of like I'm a bad heel, so I'm going to do strong strikes and be vicious, and it doesn't suit him, and it's just awful. And yeah, he just got buried, and losing against Jerry Lawler. It's not a good way to get momentum. So they didn't want anything to do with him. It seems.
I mean, do you know what's weird? The next pay-per-view he's on is WrestleMania, and he wins a cruiserweight title there. So
yeah,
that's an interesting way of trying to build.
Same character.
Same character, yeah. I think it's same sort. Like it's not the Hurricane.
It's not Hurricane. It's Greg.
It's Gregory Helms. Yeah, they just
strange.
I mean, to be fair, at that point they didn't care about the cruiserweight title. I don't think.
Yeah, cruiserweight title doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah, it just seems like an interesting. I mean, I suppose it's sort of a damning indictment of what the cruiserweight division was, where you could just chuck someone who lost to Jerry Lawler and just make them win the title and it'd be believable.
Yeah, this match is a damning indictment of the state that they were in 2006 and they'd lost their big stars, like I said earlier on, because this is just literally Jerry's got to come off comms to do this because we don't have enough star power to fill the card. I mean, where was Undertaker at this time? Does anybody know?
SmackDown.
Yeah, it was a SmackDown.
Right, so he's on the other brand.
Yeah, because
he wasn't injured. Right, okay.
Yeah,
because
a
couple weeks ago they had Armageddon, didn't they?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was on every single SmackDown rebound. They mentioned the Undertaker, Randy Orton storyline, every single one of them.
Yep.
Nothing else happened in SmackDown, probably just the Undertaker, and Batista getting sexual assault. Not sexual. What was it? Some form of storyline between him and one of the women's wrestlers saying that he sexually assaulted her or something like that. Wrestling.
I am not aware of that, and I don't want to be aware of that.
I don't think it lasts very long, fortunately. But yeah, that's something I was spotted on one of the SmackDown recaps as well, and I was very, very confused by. Yeah.
Unfortunately, well, should we do our scores? I mean, I don't want.
Oh yeah.
D.
I've given it a C- because I'm being generous.
Yeah.
C-. I give it a D.
Diabolical. So then I just written, and Mal's the spots in between guy, so he's probably got something written down here. I've just written Mickey's spot is cringe AF.
Yes.
Awkward.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a WWE.com thing again where they're backstage talking to some people, I guess, but they're doing like a online chat thing, I guess. Trish comes in, has a stare off later, which I think was quite nice. And then Mickey just sort of came in behind and say some very sexual things about sweaty bodies in close proximity. They're trying to say they're lesbians, everyone. They're trying to say they're lesbians.
Yeah.
And then
make out that they're crazy.
Yeah, they're crazy,
which is the point of like I said earlier, they're just trying to point out that they're crazy, and that's don't like clashes with just about everything everybody believes these days, isn't it? It's unbelievable. But the Kurt Angle one as well sort of sums up that even in 2006, that would have been abhorrent to most people here. I can't remember it. I was there. I was a man in 2006, pretty much.
Then of course move on from that to Viscera perving over Shelton's mum.
Oh, it's dreadful.
Yes.
Is this? I've written this as well. Is this a little bit racist as well? The way they behave with all of these people of color
might be overplayed, but
I don't see any obvious race. I think it's stereotypical Southern.
Shelton's mama is the bit that I'm talking about.
I don't think it's racist more than just stereotypical. I don't think it's necessarily racist. I can see what you mean.
If that was a white mother, would they have been like that? I don't think so.
No, because that's not a stereotype, I suppose.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there are more obvious examples of WWE being a bit racist.
Oh yeah.
Within this time period, so I would probably say this is at least accidental racism.
It's almost like laugh at them.
Yeah.
Laugh at them. They're funny, sort of thing. That's what I'm saying. It's just very uncomfortable. And Shelton's mama through the match just screaming
Yeah.
constantly through it.
Yeah,
It's just incredibly annoying.
Yeah, we'll get onto that later because it's Triple H versus the Big Show in a match that.
Oh, I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just realised it was they put that in between
Whoa.
Yeah.
for reasons.
Yeah, this was sort of just Joe stuck in the mid card. Presume there's like a sort of like a main, whatever, like a mid sort of match to get people who are still interested. So essentially, still this match is Big Show and Triple H interfering in each other's matches to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. They both got themselves knocked out. Then Triple H injures Show's hand during the contract signing because he's a bit scared of the Big Show. But then Go Home Raw, the Big Show has a massive cast, which he just uses to just whack things basically, and then Triple H is scared again. I mean, to be fair, the big cast thing did look like quite like it can actually hurt people. Because essentially it's just like a big whacking.
Hammer.
Yeah, it's believable. It was completely believable. You want it's like a giant rock on his hand, you know? Believable.
Yeah, this match this match was I'd say this match was okay. It was very slow. As you said. Like,
do you want to go next, Eloise?
Well, so I expected it to be better than it was, but I still did enjoy it because obviously two great performers, and even though, as you said earlier, Big Show was a little bit slow and sluggish, and you could tell he was getting tired very quickly, I still didn't mind that. He's still good at what he did. There's a reason why he was there, not just because of his size, because he's good at what he's doing. So but the one thing is I was also confused by there was these chest shots where they where Big Show slaps Triple H's chest, and he uses his cast to steady Triple H and then slaps with his other hand. He could have literally used his cast to slap, and then that would have been near the end, because it would have, by their logic, it would have exploded his chest or some shit. So why didn't they use the cast? They rarely ever use that as an offense, because it eventually came off. So
it did come off surprisingly quickly.
It did,
it came off after like a few minutes, which
like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I do like how they basically focused the entire match on just destroying the hand even more. And
that was what it was.
Yeah, and that Show wasn't like able to do his things. Like, he wasn't able to get the choke slam because of his hand was buggered. And,
it did make you want to root for him. Yeah. That's one thing. He was good in that instance of making you want to root for him.
Yeah,
because he was getting absolutely demolished.
So my analysis of it is that Triple H was basically, there was a few things going on. There was the David versus Goliath angle, which Triple H tried to play up to try and make it interesting. Triple H will never have a boring match because Triple H always tries his best to make it as interesting as possible.
Yep.
So the whole running around thing, you never see Triple H doing that. Triple H wants to be strong. Not in this match. He turned into a cruiserweight and started running around the ring, if you noticed, especially at the beginning. Big Show is in ridiculously bad shape. He can't walk from one end of the ring to the other without having a rest. So the match drags on and on and on. And the whole and the cover for it is the gimmick with the cast. So it's the cast versus the sledgehammer, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what they're building up. It's either going to be the cast or the sledgehammer. So Triple H takes the cast off way too early. That should have happened at the end. Big Show then has the makeup across his hand.
Yep.
If you notice, which was cool. I like that. I like the dramatic element of it. That is cool. Big Show just sell everything as well as he can because he is an actor at the end of the day as well. And a very experienced guy at what he does. And he is very good at what he does, as Eloise said. But unfortunately, his physical condition makes him very difficult to watch when he's like this. And it happens many times during his career where he is literally just standing there waiting to punch somebody, if you remember. Maybe a few years later than this. Yeah. Literally, he is just a punch.
Yeah.
He's not far off that here.
Yeah.
He's younger here, but he's not far off that. So my analysis of it is basically that it drags on too long. It's in the mid card. This should have been before the Elimination Chamber, not here. Lost in the middle after the absolutely horrific Lawler match. It's very strange the way they booked it. Triple H is still one of the biggest stars at this point, and he's been sold a complete duffer of a match, unfortunately. Big Show is a star, but in this form, is he very entertaining? In this condition, is he very entertaining? Probably not. He is for Eloise,
With
not
the
for
mic.
me. I find it when they're so horribly out of condition, it being very annoying because it's their job to be in condition, and he's not in condition. So I have given it a C, just because of the gimmick. Basically, the gimmick's pretty cool. I like the storytelling. I don't like the pace. It should have been over way quicker than this. Moving on to Mal. What have you scored it, Mal?
I am being probably a bit more positive about this match than you are. I'll go for B minus because it's sort of the same thing you said. Like, it's the gimmick. It like, what's basically just his match, and they did actually basically like compared to the other match on the card. This is built up quite well, I think. Like with the promos that show cuts probably, which you didn't see, probably like would have made him a bit more like. Made me feel a bit more positive about them than you did, Tim. And show was in very much in that show mode at this point, which is never fun to see. Eloise?
B. For what it is, I enjoyed it. It did drag on a bit, and the cringy spots were a bit draining after a while because you're like watching it and you're just like, that looks like it hurts. I don't want to see this after a while, you know. But I liked it. Yeah, like I get the whole.
Just to go into one technical detail I wrote down, I forgot to mention, is there's a chair shot to the hand. You know, his injured hand.
Yeah.
That should have been the most horrific thing ever, because they're supposed to make you go, "Oh my god!" But Big Show was so absolutely knackered, he couldn't sell it because he was just too tired.
Yeah.
So that sort of summed the match up, really. The Triple H did his best, but Big Show wasn't in any condition to be wrestling.
Yeah, it's something to say. I'd probably say a lot about Triple H matches whenever they pop up. It was probably too long. I'd say this could have saved, cut off like 3 minutes of this, or maybe more, and it'd be better. And Big Show being very out of shape probably doesn't help as well, to be fair. But, so quick segment
moving
for
on.
The next match. Masters backstage getting some weight stuff in. Carlito comes and offers to work together because they've never been WWE champion, which I think is like, this is genuinely like the best thing about the Elimination Chamber match. Just those two working together, like legitimately. Like, this is something that I don't think has really ever been done since. I can't remember anyone ever working together in a chamber match since.
No.
Yeah, it's just like, it seems like a very obvious thing to do, and it sort of made them look like actually smart.
Yeah.
For now.
Chris Masters got a big push, didn't he?
Yeah.
At one point, where this was part of it, where Vince likes his big sweaty men, as we all know, and big meaty men.
I don't mind Chris Masters. He was 22 at the time, you know.
Yeah, it's this thing about writing, though, isn't it? I think someone with that physique, if you stick a Kane mask on them, you know, or give them an Undertaker gimmick, they could make something of it. But if you're just making Chris Masters, who's got a master lock, as soon as someone breaks the master lock, it's very difficult to give him that aura, because he's not got. He's good with the mic, but it's not about criticizing Chris Masters so much. It's about what you do with him. That's the thing. He didn't have a gimmick.
I don't think the answer's Monster, though.
Well, it could have, but whatever the gimmick is, it needs to be interesting. And dude in red trunks with muscles, it wears thin after a while because people just lose the emotional connection to it.
Yeah,
that does make sense.
Yeah, I think I will say the crowd didn't overly care for him.
No, that's what I mean.
I think it's during the Royal Watch, the crowd, they were just They weren't
Mhm.
like booing him or
Mm.
really reacting to him being there at all. Really, outside
I
of
mean,
like
would you?
promos where he just
I
sort
mean,
of
there's been loads of big men that have made things of themselves because of the writing. Like Scott Hall was like that.
Yeah.
The Diesel thing. But probably you're too young to remember that sort of stuff. But
I know if
you got to give them something, some oomph,
Hmm.
something that people go, I'm interested. This guy interests me. And there's none of that with Chris Masters at all. A very talented guy, a absolutely flawless physique. I mean, it's probably allegedly.
Yes,
No,
allegedly.
no,
Don't sue Chris.
that's why his career was cut short in WWE because
Yeah,
wellness policy.
yeah.
Hmm.
So
Failed it multiple times.
So moving on to the actual match, which is another one, which is Shelton versus Viscera. Viscera was terrible. Viscera was always terrible. Everyone in the 90s and the early 2000s knew that Viscera was terrible. As soon as you saw a Viscera match, you were like, oh, it's a Viscera match. Because he was rubbish. He was absolutely terrible. He was just a really, really fat man. He wasn't good with the mic. He wasn't good in the ring. He had about 3 moves he could do, and then he was absolutely knackered. To put him again with Shelton Benjamin, it's a bit like the Lawler Helms thing, where they put someone ultra athletic, high flying, fast in with somebody who's just completely incapable of producing a decent performance to match it, and you just end up with this horrible clash of styles. And it was a bit of a terrible mess, wasn't it, really, at the end of the day? And the crowd is absolutely dead. Apart from the bit when he got spanked. They did a bit of spanking, didn't they, for Shelton's mama?
There was a bit of spanking, and then Viscera humped him in the middle of the ring, which got the crowd interested, which is interesting. But other than that,
Yeah, and then he got literally. They went, well, this is boring. So what should we do? Let's put Shelton's mama in, screaming all the way through.
Yeah,
that woman's job. She did a good job with the material she was given.
Yeah,
but good lord, was it annoying?
Yeah, like it's one of those things where she was if she wasn't constantly doing it every single second, I think we would be sort of looking at it more favorably. But how long was this match? About 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah. You can't go longer than that with Viscera.
No, I can't go on that. First, yeah, that's fair. I probably should have about 3 minutes, but like 7 or 8 minutes of someone just saying roughly the same thing over and over again. Is it meant to make him a heel? I don't know, because Viscera is Viscera. What is Viscera?
A heel.
Yeah.
I guess he is. But
whereas
Shelton was a face.
Shelton's a face who there are some faces that sometimes do heely stuff, like the whole double teaming with Mama, but I think that's because they see his mum as an independent thing that's not so wrestling focused. So her doing that also makes sense against the heel.
Yeah, it kind of sums up the writing, though, doesn't it? The writing on this thing wasn't good at all.
Perfect. But in my opinion, I didn't hate Mama as much as you two. I didn't find her annoying as much as you two. I didn't think Viscera was that's probably the best Viscera match I've seen. Viscera matches are awful, but I think that's the best, as he was actually made as a threat because they made Shelton sell a lot of things and like run away a lot, and Shelton was losing that, so actually made Viscera a threat. And I didn't hate the match. I enjoyed it at parts. There was stupid shit, and I enjoyed that. I enjoy stupid shit. So it's very over the top and campy, but I don't hate that. So it wasn't the worst match on. Like I enjoyed parts of it, you know.
Rating then, Eloise?
So I had it as a B, and I thought that's very generous. So I put it C because of wrestling ability for Viscera, but C, very high C, but a C.
Right. I've gone for C minus in this one. It's sort of similar to quite a few of these matches actually. If this was a few minutes shorter, I would like it better, because the gimmick of Shelton's mum, I don't think it can last for that long in a match, especially if it's going consistently. Like it just grated upon me like during by the middle of the match, and just got sick of it. But yeah, and so Shelton did well with what he had, which was Viscera, which is not
Good wrestler.
Yeah, Shelton's good, Viscera not.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. But Shelton Benjamin's another one of these that they never knew what to do with because they didn't give him a character. Someone who's not brilliant with the mic. But I mean, he's capable of doing a lot of things someone like Jeff Hardy used to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Jeff Hardy was just over, and Shelton Benjamin's never really been over, has he? They didn't know what to do with him. They didn't know where to go with him, which is a shame.
Shelton seems like he's not overly built for like being a guy on his own doing a singles run. Like, he was in Team Angle after he came in, and Team Angle and what it became the world's greatest tag team. They were great, but like Shelton didn't have to speak for Team Angle because Angle spoke and Angle's fantastic. But but giving him a character, I guess they're trying to do that here, but the character's just his mum.
It's almost this like hint of racism thing that I'm talking about, though. It's like it's I don't like it. It's like they push people because then in this era because they're the right sort of demographic for the audience, and Shelton wasn't the right demographic, so he gets the weird mama angle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the way it felt when I watched it back.
Yeah.
So
we got another segment in between this. It's not a particularly important one, but Vince and Sean have been having a bit of a tiff on TV, essentially.
I quite like that.
Yeah, well,
because of the star power involved in it, it's always cool to see Vince and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
it's a lot of history.
Yeah. But this basically started on, I think it was the Raw before the pay-per-view, where Vince was reviewing the Bret Hart DVD, and of course, you gotta mention the fucking Montreal Screwjob again, haven't you? So Vince reviewed that, and then Sean came into the ring and said basically what everyone was thinking and saying, "Just move on, you idiots, please." And then Vince got annoyed and said he wasn't going to do anything. He's going to have a zero tolerance policy, and then this is where the big overarching feud between Vince and Sean starts, and goes on to Mania, I think, where they have a match. Yeah. Essentially, what happens here is Vince comes into Sean's locker room and tries to sort of psych him out, saying, "No one is under shame of coming in at number one," which seems a bit weird, seeing as there's only 6 slots and there's number 1 and number 2 are exactly the same. The numbering of the chain match shouldn't really matter as much as he made out there, especially the early ones. And then Sean says he was the first one to remember from number 1, which is fair, and he won the first ladder match, which I guess because it was number 1 there. And then basically Vince laughs and says Sean does that to hell with freeze over. Then just the segment ends there. Basically, it's sort of like trying to sort of keep fresh in the minds that Vince and Sean are having a tiff, basically.
Yeah, a decent little spot, but again, filler.
Yeah,
because the show needed lots of filler.
Yeah, it did.
And Shawn Michaels is always quality anyway. Whenever he does anything like that, he's got an aura to him. One of the best there's ever been. So that's good. And now we move on to a one I have refused to rate or have anything to do with. The women. What's the actual title of it? I've written Women's Gauntlet thingy.
The Bra and Panties Gauntlet.
Yeah, Bra and Panties Gauntlet match. The first ever Bra and Panties Gauntlet match, and probably the last ever Bra and Panties Gauntlet match. Go on, Tim. What's your notes? Because I think you've written down like 2 things.
I'm not rating this. Literally softcore porn. Horrific, tasteless garbage.
Yes.
Summed up when Ashley strips off. At the end, so when Ashley wins, and then she gets a kit off as well because she's been told to do it. Because more boobs.
Yeah.
I struggle to believe these women are into this thing, and that you tell them to get their kit off in the ring, and to drag each other's clothes off. That must be pretty demeaning for people who are there to basically be wrestlers at the end of the day. And isn't it lovely that we've moved on and things aren't like that anymore?
Yep.
And of course, there's the spot with the elderly ladies, who they kept dragging out over and over again for these sorts of weird things, and it's literally just to weird people out and be disrespectful to not only women but elderly people at the same time.
Yeah.
Because why not? So I'm not rating it. It's not a match. It's softcore porn. Over to you.
Yeah. I basically put what you've put down, except holy shit, a suplex when somebody did an actual wrestling move. That happened.
Was that Candace?
I think that was Tori on Candice, I think, or something. No, it was Tori on Maria, I think, during the middle of that match. But then, the rest of it was all
Tori on Maria, yeah.
I think the rest of it was all just kicks and punches and the occasional sort of... There was a usual Divas spot where they just roll over the ref as well. And Mae Young and Moolah came out.
Yeah.
This is wrestling.
Yeah.
This is wrestling.
If they were still alive, they'd still be coming out doing that today.
Probably, yeah. I mean, how old were they then? They must have been like in their 70s.
Oh, must be, yeah.
Surely they didn't need money that much to come out and just humiliate themselves every single time.
Maybe they did. Maybe they did.
Yeah, maybe they did.
Ric Flair carried on for as long as he did because of money.
That's fair.
He's still going now.
Yep. The gambling addiction's in it.
Mae Young would have been 82.
Jesus Christ. You sort of feel sorry for him. And again, you remember that Mae Young is just a prick for what she did during that. What she did when she was an actual wrestler. So you just think it's wasn't Mae Young and Moolah maybe were both pricks. So
they would have been about the same age.
Yeah,
Moolah was like a couple years younger, and not long after that, Fabrice Moolah died. So 2007.
All right.
Mae Young 2014.
Yeah. Oh, it's 2007. Okay. So she probably got tits out a couple of times more on WWE TV then. Yeah.
That's all there is to say, really. But moving on to Louise, the female perspective on this thing.
I mean, I try my best to analyze it as a wrestling match, but it was just the actual wrestling content in it is just almost non-existent, and it's just like them doing something basic to try to rip something. And it's just, and then the whole Fabrice Moolah thing, which in Mae Young, it made no sense because I'll think of it literally here. Why did they come out? Because they weren't in the gauntlet, and then why does that mean that Ashley was then had to wait until they? Why didn't Ashley come out earlier? Why did they get an interruption? Why did they get a spot but then also not a spot? Why?
Yeah, I think the word "why" sums this thing up. Just overall, why?
It can be summed up,
as an actual gauntlet match, it makes no sense.
This is a good kind of indicator, though, for where it is, because the last pay-per-view we reviewed was WrestleMania 17, which of course had the gimmick Battle Royale in it. So the gimmick Battle Royale was sort of a bit of fun before the main event?
Yeah.
So it was directly before the main event. This is directly before the main event. So this is the same thing, but in 2006. So we're talking, 5 years later? About 5 years later. When they've lost their stars, they've split their brands so that they've diluted the pool of talent that they've got to work from. So this is the result, where the gimmick Battle Royale match, which didn't have any stars in it or anything, it was just literally there to fill the time. Respect the gobbledygooker. I apologise to gobbledygooker fans everywhere.
Big star.
Yeah, but their response to it is to sex everything up. And this is the worst example of it I've seen. and of course the earlier sus lesbian storyline.
Yeah.
Everything just gets taken to from a 5 to a 10 because they can't compensate for the fact they haven't got the Rock and Stone Cold anymore and have to sell it somehow, and that's the way they chose to sell it.
Okay.
So it's a good example of what's gone wrong,
Yeah.
really. So, Elimination Chamber, finally.
Do any of us have ratings for that match?
Oh, it's not a match, so I'd be surprised if you do.
So I did give a rating. The rating was tits. That's the rating.
Well, I actually rated it, and I rated it a big fat F. So
Ooh, well, that's a fail. So
Yes.
it's not even a rating.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a rating, I suppose.
Let's moving on quickly because it's very sus, isn't it?
Yes.
So Elimination Chamber, the main
Yay.
event
with a match has been built up properly. What is this? Well-ish.
With all their star power.
Yeah.
So do you want to go through the promo?
Which promo? The promo.
The build. I mean the build.
Oh, the
Do you want to go through the build up to it?
Essentially, the Eric Bischoff was the Raw GM. His team lost at Survivor Series, and he lost to Teddy Long in a match I am not going to watch because that sounds like it will just be pure bollocks. To sort of try and save his job because Vince came on I think it was 2 Raws, and then they did like a mock trial thing. Bischoff booked on the Elimination Chamber match for the main event of this pay-per-view. Vince said okay, but then fired him anyway, and then chucked him in a bin lorry and killed him pretty much because he got sucked up into the big crusher. So in kayfabe, yep. So in kayfabe, he's dead. Rip Bozo. Then there was some qualifying matches which I do, which I do quite like the sort of idea of just having actual actually wrestling matches to determine who's in the wrestling match. We had Angle v Ric Flair. Angle won. That was I say all these matches were good for TV. Shelton lost to Carlito. Shawn Michaels beat Kane. No. Michaels beat Big Show because Triple H interfered. Sorry. Chris Masters beat Viscera. Yes, Viscera. And that was just that. I think that's at the point where I realized nobody cares about Chris Masters. Sadly, and we also had Kane and Triple H where Big Show interfered to help his tag team partner because they're tag team champions. Just to just point out, there's no tag team match this pay-per-view because the tag team division at this point was fucking awful. There were several times where there was a match. I think it was the second Raw where Kane and Big Show faced pretty much every other team in tag division, just fucking destroyed them within like 3 minutes.
Yeah. What about the first Raw? We had the amazing match of Big Show and Kane versus Snitsky and Tom.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Just big guys, and they're just no.
Yeah. So far, all seen from the Raw tag division was Big Show and Kane, Tomko and Snitsky, Viscera and Val Venus, because Val Venus is still in the company and he's still wrestling at this point, and then Heartthrobs, who I don't know who they are because they just take the pin every time.
Yeah, it was like a fatal 4-way, but then they were all at once, so it was just chaos.
Yeah.
And it was a nothing match.
Yeah, it seems like the tag division in WWE in general was just a bit shit because they had it was at the SmackDown pay-per-view in between this one and Survivor Series and this pay-per-view. It was Big Show and Kane v Batista and Rey Mysterio, which they're two very thrown together tag teams.
Can they coexist?
Yeah, it just sort of showed that. But what tag teams were there even there at that point?
Yeah, the diluted pool where you split the brands as well.
Yeah,
makes it even worse.
Yeah, you can't sort of just it just doesn't really exist. I don't really care about it at this point. Yeah.
I always find that concept of splitting the brands strange because people, when they book to go and watch, I know in America it's different, but if you're here, you expect to see if you WWE's in town, you expect to see all the stars, don't you? You don't
Mhm.
expect to see half the stars and then the other half not be there.
Yeah.
But
But
you expect it's like going to the circus and seeing the lions, not having the elephants. Not that
But
I'm saying that you should have elephants in the circus. It's
if
abhorrent. That's just an
if you
example.
if you watch if they come over here and do a live event, that's a house show, so it doesn't matter at all. Whereas if you go to a taping for like Raw or SmackDown, it matters. It's something that does matter. It doesn't have the stars, but it does matter. And brand splits make sense because I mean it's more TV time, and they can also then focus on the smaller stars and build the smaller stars, and then rather than just like have the main stars and then just have those and then not really care about anyone else, and people really get TV time. So it's a chance of highlighting other people. Yeah, it does dilute it, and it does, but there are pros and cons to a brand split, and I
Yeah,
don't think it's the worst thing.
yeah, they've
But
done it for television, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because this, of course, started as a sport for arenas, which still is, but television is a massive part of it.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of evolution of it. But it didn't do these pay-per-views any good at all to not have the big stars on
yeah,
them.
they've definitely learned how to deal with a brand split, how to
Mm.
deal with
Yeah.
having like diluted pools, but trying to make. And what I liked about Raw and SmackDown at that time is the shows had more of like an identity. You know, Raw was just crazy storylines, stupid antics, and SmackDown was wrestling. So
Yeah. It's
I liked it, but they're just ironing out stuff.
So the
Still.
actual match,
yeah.
I found it interesting how Cena's the champion, and they let Shawn Michaels come out last. Did you notice that? Is it because he's got a better entrance music? Because that's no entrance music better than Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I think it's because Vince did make Shawn Michaels the #1 entrant. That doesn't mean very much in this.
But then technically he was number 2 because he came out second. But I suppose you do it reverse order.
I think they were trying to do it in reverse order, weren't they? Because Kane won his last slot during the beat the clock matches they had on, like, I think it was the
okay, yeah. So
2 weeks after
maybe
the
they were doing
matches.
it reverse.
I mean, I can move through some of the beat the clock matches as well if you want to, because some of them are interesting. So Michaels beat Snitsky to set a time. That's a good start. Then we had Masters vs Chavo, which was actually somewhat sensible.
Chavo.
Yeah. Then we had Kurt Angle versus his manager Davari.
That's amazing.
Which basically the ref basically absolutely threw for Kurt Angle because basically Davari laid down and then the ref refused to count the pin. The ref ran out the ring and Kurt Angle chased him and he counted out quickly to get rid of Kurt Angle. I'm not sure why he did that. I thought the referee was being partial, but sure. I guess it's the thought he'll get his comeuppance. Then we've got Cena vs Shelton Benjamin, which again, that was a decent match to be fair. And of course, the two matches that make the most sense: Carlito versus Victoria.
Yeah,
that was one of the matches. That one was weird because they're both bad guys or bad people, I guess. Like Victoria is the main heel woman of the Divas division. There wasn't really an explanation given for why she was just put in this match, and
ran out of blokes.
Did they? Surely they didn't. Yeah. Then
surprised they didn't get Jerry Lawler to do it.
Yeah, surely they had like some random, like someone like Val Venus. Just chuck him in there. He's not doing anything, but just chuck him in there just so Carlos just to beat easily. Yeah, but basically, then the other two women that Victoria hangs out with, who are Candice and Tommy, they try to distract Carlos as much as possible. One of them literally put the dog in the ring. And then
that was Tori's dog.
Yeah. Tori's dog sort of ran across the ring to distract Carlito, which was probably the best part of that match.
I wish I saw that now because poor puppy.
Yeah, and of course Kane came the last match on the beat the clock thing, and he was facing both the Heartthrobs. So once again, the tag team division looking very strong, and Kane won in 30 seconds.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so yeah,
Tag division.
King got to start.
Yeah.
we got to have be last out.
Yeah, King got to be last out. I think they did mention that a few times.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got Kurt mentions Master's had some shiny paper on his robe this time, which seemed very much stuck on with like some dodgy glue because the edge was sort of like just waving around a bit. Cena is injured because of the first blood match he had on Raw with Kurt Angle, previous Raw.
Yeah, little boo boo.
He had a little plaster on his head.
No.
And Cena looked very serious while staring at possibly the most comedy belt in all of history. They're just sort of staring at the belt full of diamonds that spins around, just looking at it very seriously.
I hated that belt.
Yeah,
I love it.
I remember at the time hating it.
It's great.
The belt designs in the early 2000s were perfect. I have no idea where they ever changed them because they were great. Like the spinny John Cena one was annoying as well.
I mean, I didn't mind that because it was quite funny. To be fair, like,
I love it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Like it's funny bollocks basically. But I suppose I can understand it not being keen on it with like the big title. So,
I've written for it to evaluate the actual match. So the match starts. Then I've written Cena versus HBK should have been far more interesting at the beginning. It was very slow start. Whether it was designed to be like that, just to build the match, probably. Don't start with M2. Because M2 should have been far better than that, because they're far better than the performance. Carlito gets absolutely no pop when he comes in whatsoever. But does very, very well and adds a lot of energy to the match. I was very, very impressed with him.
Speaking of crowd reaction, the Cena Michaels thing, it was very obvious to tell that Cena was just getting shit on, even at this point of his career. Like sort of like whenever Cena went in office, there was an audible boo.
Did I not write it down? They Cena sucks chants were happening, and then with boos.
Yeah,
because of his silly belt. Silly belt.
It's not because of the silly belt. It's because they were fed up of him being pushed. It's not the silly belt.
Yeah.
There's no interest. I find that the ones who never turn heel get absolutely no love because they're just boring. That's the problem. Cena was the ultimate example of it, really. I mean, Rey Mysterio is probably the only one who's ever carried it and been loved universally that I can remember. You know, like Hulk Hogan even. Hulk Hogan was the ultimate babyface and then turned and they came back again and was loved by everybody despite being sus in the end.
Racist prick.
Yes. And also.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing, like but Carlito comes in and is speeds it up a lot, adds lots and lots of good energy to it. I don't think he spits his apple out. Does he spit his apple out during this match?
He spits his apple because he was surprised that he was in next. He spit his apple right on the.
It was all on the screen.
Yeah,
it was all on the screen. You could see him from the white. They didn't zoom on him when he spat, but you could see when the over the top camera, you could see him spit as soon as it was him, and then he was confused with it with his screen all gunked up. So yes, he did. He had multiple apples. He brought multiple apples with him. You see him like almost like 3 apples in his hands, waiting.
But he added lots of good energy to it.
It was good.
And then Kurt Angle comes in, and this is like utterly ridiculously quite high. Kurt Angle, I would call
Angle.
him. He's absolutely roided up to the the max.
Yeah, painkillers.
Intense as hell.
Yeah. Just going to point out that Kurt Angle left the company in June of this year.
This is the point.
Yeah.
I remember listening to a podcast with Kurt Angle talking about this era, kind of the wrestling machine before the wrestling machine that he went on to be in TNA, if we recall, and he was taking basically cupfuls of Vicodin and chewing it. Yeah. At this point, because he was in so much pain constantly all the time, and you can tell because he's having he's very, very, very high.
Yeah,
like literally. I've never seen anything like it.
He joins TNA in October.
Yeah, I think
Leaves
it's
July, joins TNA October.
His performance is brilliant, as it always is from Kurt Angle. It's just super committed, intense.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, he was fantastic.
Sells everything's perfect. I love Kurt Angle matches. They're always great.
yeah, like the angle coming in and just dominating things. I think was quite good. There was a lot of suplexes, which is
So many.
yeah,
So it was like
essentially
Brock Lesnar numbers.
Yeah, it's like essentially like a Brock Lesnar thing. Yeah.
There's some good spots onto the steel.
Yeah.
Just the usual clunky boom, and then the commentators sell it pretty well.
Yeah.
The HBK one into the cage where he cuts his head.
Yeah.
Well, he blades.
Yeah,
he blades.
He blades. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
someone's got to do it, I guess.
That was good.
I don't see how just a shot on the chains would make you bleed. It might do a laceration. It might like kind of do like a scratch, but but it won't. It wouldn't cut you like that, and it just kind of just doesn't make sense in my opinion. It just looks stupid.
Yeah, well, he sells it as the whole kind of point of him being there, doesn't he? That one spot, and then after he's kind of on the floor for about 25
he sells
minutes.
it, but
yeah,
I don't think it was very
sweet
good.
chin music.
I don't think it was a good spot in the first place.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
But there's lots of him just on the floor recovering from that one spot throughout the whole match, basically.
Yeah, another spot I quite like is just Angle's got Carlito in the ankle lock, and Masters is there basically chomping at the bit to basically because they've thrown lines. Basically, he wants to chomp at the bit, basically just getting out as soon as possible, and
so he wouldn't lose.
So he wouldn't lose, which is like again, this is like
it was good.
Yeah, this is like really good storytelling. Like legitimately, like this is like they should do that again, honestly. Like actually, maybe have the right result this time.
Maybe have them as final two.
Yes, maybe. But we'll get on to that later.
Yeah. Kurt Angle going out first was a shock, but presumably that's because they know what state he's in at this point, and they're trying to move away from him. Because that guy's the best thing they've got on this whole card by a mile. I mean, Shawn Michaels is great. But Shawn Michaels isn't the young Shawn Michaels anymore. I think Triple H has been left in the mid card.
Yeah, I think in terms of like actual pure wrestling, he's probably the best main eventer they have.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. One thing I will say, that sweet chin music didn't like. I suppose it sort of makes sense that Shawn was down on the ground and didn't really know what he was doing. But Cena, like Masters had a master lock on Angle, and Cena, Master tried to get master lock on Angle, and Kurt returned to ankle lock as he always does. But then Cena just decided to break up the hold. So I don't get like it's an elimination match. Surely you should just try and get as many people eliminated as possible. It seems like it happens a couple. It happens sometimes like relatively frequently in WWE where they just seem to just forget that it's an elimination match and then just break up the hold.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's sort of like so conditioned to multi-man matches. Someone's in a hold, we'll break it up with like a big move, something, or getting hold him, something like that. Yeah, that seems a bit weird, but yeah, the sweet music out of nowhere is good, and the camera angle really made it seem like it just sort of Shawn Michaels just whacked him. The super kick sort of came in literally out of nowhere. Yeah. Then we're down to two heels versus two faces, and the two heels working together means they basically just double team everyone.
That was good. It did work well, didn't it?
Yeah.
From a storytelling perspective, very, very good.
Yeah.
I mean, we always knew John Cena was going to win. Like, it was just the way it was going. That's why he got booed, because everyone knew what was going to happen. It's just completely predictable.
Yeah.
In that pool of people, as soon as Kurt Angle went, or Shawn Michaels maybe because they built it up a little bit, but then Shawn Michaels went out before Masters and before Carlito.
Yes.
So at that point, John Cena's winning.
Yeah. They essentially the two heels double. They basically sort of again work together, which is again great. I think they get Kane out first. Then Cena gets on top of both of them because, of course, it's John Cena. What do you expect? But Shawn Michaels basically gets up and they have a bit of brawl. Shawn hits the elbow. But he's too injured to go for the pin. Then the heels sort of wake up. They go for Shawn Michaels first instead of Cena. I don't know why they did that. They want surely you go for the man who's just been hit by the move, rather than go for the guy who's just on the floor injured. But just like it's sort of stuff like that where you sort of like it's something. I think it's something that again, we all knew, everyone in the crowd knew Cena was winning, but it's just like an awkward way of getting to it.
There is a good emphasis on this master lock thing. That's quite good storytelling as well.
Yeah.
It's almost like they were building that to be the sharpshooter.
Yeah,
Reminded me of that.
Yeah, the
from back in the day.
Yeah, the master lock is one of those. One of the things they've been posting on TV is one of the holes that's never been broken. Basically, whenever someone gets locked into it, they basically fade out. So it's sort of like
they've kind of done that more recently with Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Lock. So Bobby Lashley has something like that, and it's impossible to get out. And they use it basically how they used it with Chris Masters. So they're still sort of doing it now. So it's a good spot. I do like the Hurt Lock. I do like the Masters Lock. Sorry.
The Undertaker had one for a while, didn't he? As well, was it the Hell's Gate?
Is that the triangle choke sort of thing? Or was that different?
Yeah. I think it was called Hell's Gate or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone else. If you know the answer to that, put it in the comments.
We've then after that, Cena decided to wake up and then just dominate them both for a bit because again, hits Cena. The alliance actually is still. For reason I hadn't made the line sort of breaks up a bit earlier than this, but they're still going to the double team Cena for a bit. Then they argue over how then they argue over who's gonna eliminate Cena. Cena gets in the master lock. Then Carlito, for some inexplicable reason, just hits him in the balls. Why do it then? Literally right before you were going to eliminate the other person in the match, you just whack him in the balls. Yeah. And then he pins Masters. And then Cena just pins Carlito.
I do think, though, that Carlito and Masters do a very good job.
Yeah.
They were very entertaining always. They were the best part of the match.
Yeah,
it's frustrating because it would have been amazing if it was just those two at the end. And then, let's say, one of them wins.
Yeah.
And then you can have the other win the Royal Rumble, and then it could be a huge WrestleMania payoff. You could have literally made two massive stars there by having them at WrestleMania. But you have to do Wabadoo, which obviously makes sense when you look at what happens after this. But it's painful because they write on something. They could have done something.
Yeah, they just can't make John Cena look weak.
They can't.
Like he became Vince's next Hulk Hogan, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's what he was. Hulk Hogan turned on him. And he saw an opportunity to have the new American hero, and it didn't do John Cena any favors. I mean, I think he's more popular now than he was at the time.
I think
because he's gone on to be
definitely
have a good Hollywood career and everything. So it's quite nice when he comes back now. But no one wants to see someone who just wins constantly all the time. Hulk Hogan in WCW is what he basically was. Just you knew he was going to win, and he won here, and then you get the cash in.
Yes. So essentially, this is basically right after the match. Vince comes out, says, congratulates Cena, but says the night's not over. Then says Edge is casting his money in the bank, which does me the surprise a bit. I don't think they've really figured out how to use it properly.
No, they were
because this is the first one they've done.
It was,
These days they just run out with the referee with the case going cash.
That's so much better than Vince announcing it and kind of being a bit slow and stale and kind of ruin the surprise. Whereas the good thing that they realized, because that was the first one, the good thing is that they realized and they did in the future is hit music, pop, person runs down with a ref, cash in. That's how you do it, rather than
I can see why from a live audience perspective that you've got to tell the audience what's happening, and there's no time to play a video there, is there?
Maybe at the start, but it makes more like you could just do their intro, just do their intro pop, and they know what's going to go on. The audience isn't stupid; they know what's going on. So they definitely in the future they got it perfect with entrance, pop, run with ref. That's how you do it,
Yeah.
rather than Vince coming out, which makes it a bit worse.
Yeah, there's a pretty good thing to get better with the actual match they have. The it could be because I'm more used to the cash in. They just hit a finisher, then they win very quickly.
Mm.
But Edge gets some punches in, then gets a spear, and Cena kicks out. That just again sort of cements. Imagine what it sort of cements in sort of the fans' minds that God fuck seeing that's I suppose sort of to give sort of the fans a bit of sort of doubt in the mind that Edge is just going to win this, but it did sort of like just ruin it a bit because it's not like as impactful. But then
Made him look worse.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the point is make Cena look as strong as possible.
Yeah.
Do it quickly because everyone's just had the main event and they want to go home. And basically that's it. And then it gets swapped over.
Yep.
You got Lita there at the end with him.
Yep. Then
Hoisting the belt.
Yep. Big celebrations that last for quite a while. And yep. So what do we rate this match then? Start with you, Eloise.
Well, I enjoyed it a lot. I like Elimination Chamber. Good match. There were some issues, which is why I might not give it higher than an A, but hey, I loved it. Like, yeah, that's match to the pay-per-view and save the pay-per-view. But there were some issues, but still good overall.
Tim?
To go, what Eloise is saying there, to go back to my kind of era of this sort of thing. This is getting on a bit in my life now. I'm an older man now, because you were children. I remember Armageddon Hell in a Cell, which had was Kane in that? I can't remember.
That was the 6-man one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Undertaker, Rikishi, Rock, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle. That was mega star power, right? And that was a Hell in a Cell match. That is far more interesting to me than of diluted split brand Elimination Chamber with somebody they know is on the way out of the company, even though he's incredible. Shawn Michaels at the age Shawn Michaels was getting to. Carlito and Chris Masters, who were the best thing about it in the end. And John Cena, who everyone knew was going to win anyway. So for me, it could never be that high. I give it a B- because I think it had some nice spots. It was decent length as well, I think, for the amount of people who were in it. This era of Kane doesn't do anything for me either. Because I grew up watching Kane with his mask and being scary and whatnot. And this version of Kane just seems daft and silly to me. The topless Kane with the black and red trunks. He's just he loses his aura. Because I love the theatre. I love that aspect of it. And this version of Kane had none of that.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things I don't like, but I'll give it a B- because I think it was decent.
Yeah. I'd say Kane's just been floating around. He's got the tag titles, I guess, but he's not really been doing anything up until to be fair, for a lot of this time he's not really doing much. He's just there because he's Kane, I think. I'm sort of gonna go in between the middle of you two. I'm gonna say an A-, and I agree with Eloise. The match was brilliant, and I really liked that the storyline thread of the two heels working together. That really made them actually, like I say, made them look smart, which can be quite rare for WWE, making a heel look smart, and they're actually doing the right thing. And again, something not really seen too much. But then they just fucked it up at the end massively. And it's obviously for the greater good with the cold cash in towards the end of it, but that just sort of like left a bit of a sour taste. Like it could have been done. Like it didn't even change very much. They could have had Cena pass out from the Master Lock, then Carly's just whack him in the balls and roll up for a quick pin.
I wrote down Carlito should have won.
Yeah.
When I was watching it.
I mean, I would have said I wouldn't have minded either of those two to win, honestly. Like, I wouldn't have minded.
I would want the Masters to win.
Yeah, but I can like a few between Carlito and Masters, assuming they actually build it up properly, which still didn't really. is
that would have been amazing. Surely.
I think to be the champion, you've got to be good on the microphone. To be honest, I think that's the problem with Chris Masters. Not that great on the microphone.
Both can be though.
Carlito, yeah, if you give
Yeah.
him the right material and the right character. Carlito had a character.
Yeah.
Carlito could have carried it off easily. That would have been a great push for him.
Yeah, and Carlito, obviously Carlito Masters never got a chance of doing anything anywhere near that ever again. Really?
No.
Yeah, it's just a bit depressing looking back on it, and just seeing
Honestly.
they could have built 2 people up here. They never did.
Yeah, like it was Carlito's. It wasn't Carlito's fault. He never got another chance again, but it was Masters' fault because of the whole wellness violations and cutting his career at WWE short.
Yeah.
Hope he does come back though, because he's still killing it on the indies and smaller promotions.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. Yeah.
He's not 40 yet. You know,
No.
Chris Adonis is teasing
That's
being
amazing.
back at this Royal Rumble. You know, he could be coming back, which would be, I'd love that. But
Right.
So overall show. Well, go on.
Before we go into the overall ratings, do we want to talk about what happened on the Raw afterwards with the how Edge celebrates? Because we watched that. Because do you know what happens with after this, Tim?
I can't remember.
Do you know what the live sex celebration is?
The live sex. Oh, I do know what the live sex. Edge and yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Famously, I didn't know it was the one after this.
Yeah, it's the one after this one.
Yes,
that makes sense.
we realized that.
We realized that. Like, I think it was Joe one of the I mentioned. I think it was. I think Eloise mentioned. The live sex celebration around this time, wasn't it? Then we realized it was literally right after this baby.
Yeah. But surely because he won a title, he won his first title. Surely that was because he was with Lita, and he had the cutting edge on the Raw. So I thought surely it was after this, and it was. So we watched that.
Yes. It was. How long was the segment? The segment was about 15 minutes long.
15 minutes long.
The first half of that was a very uncomfortable Edge sort of.
Just like
Edge and Lita sort of undressing each other.
Really cheap jazz.
Yeah, like
imagine
cheap jazz.
Yeah.
Imagine being Matt
Moonlighting.
Hardy watching that. Imagine being Matt Hardy.
Yeah, just like
yeah. So they do a lot of very uncomfortable things for about 8 minutes, and then Ric Flair comes out.
Yes, Ric Flair comes out
and says Edge is dead in the bed, and they want to show Edge how to do it. Basically, quotation there.
So he takes his jacket off, he struts a little bit, and then comes down to the ring.
Yeah, comes down to the ring. Edge just runs away, but he gets a chair. Then
they kind of fight a little bit. They fight a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. They fight a little bit. They won't go to the outside. Flair the Edge takes out Flair's on the announce table, and Edge does the concerto.
Oh, guess what? He's bleeding again, I think.
And of course, Flair's bleeding.
He bleeds again.
What a surprise. Then Cena comes out the crowd, and runs after Edge. Cena gets in the ring, and Edge is outside the ring, up the ramp. Lita is still in bed, naked, assumedly.
Yep.
Then the crowd basically wants him to shag Lita, Cena. And Cena does a very interesting move for a babyface, which is just look under the covers. Presumably at Lita's boobs, and he seems impressed. Then Lita, then he just drags Lita out of the bed. Fortunately, she's got a shirt on.
Yeah, rips off the sheets, and she's wearing Edge's shirt.
Yeah. Then just hits an FU on her because once again, babyface move. And that's that, and that's how the Raw ends.
Wow.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I would say go and watch it, but
watch it. No. Go and watch it.
Yeah, I suppose it's one of the things. It's one of those things you have to see.
Yeah, you have to see if you've never seen it. You have to see the live fucking sex celebration.
Yeah.
Right. So after that epilogue, let's go to the overall rating. I'm going to give it a C+. I don't like WWE in this era because it's the afterglow of what came before it, which was far, far better. It never hits those heights again for me. There's moments after this. Some Undertaker Shawn Michaels stuff is genuinely brilliant. But they're just chasing shadows at this point of what they used to be. And they push the sex way too much. I utterly hate the lesbian stuff in this. It's diabolical. And it's incredibly sus, and I don't like it at all. I don't like the gauntlet bra and panties match. I find that incredibly like to basically say that the only thing that these women have got is sex to sell, and it's not true because a lot of them are very, very talented people. And as we all know now, it's much better than it was, but it puts a massive dampener on my enjoyment of the pay-per-view. Quite enjoyed seeing Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, and whatnot, and Triple H, but it's not the best match for any of them. So yeah, C+ from Tim.
Eloise?
I gave it a C overall. You know, like it lacks some of like the good matches to make it consistently better, but there's some good spots, and I mean the reason it's not any lower is because the Elimination Chamber carries it and makes it watchable and worth watching. But I'd say it's a standard pay per view for this time, like pretty average, and then there's a couple lows, a couple highs, pretty average at this point. So not much more to say.
Mal.
I've also given it a C. Basically, this is a one-match show. The Elimination Chamber and the cash-in. It's the only thing. It's the only thing anyone remembers. The rest of it, you can just skip. There's nothing really worth watching. The Trish and Mickey match and the Triple H Big Show match were decent. Nothing that you really want to go out of your way for. The rest of it was just a bit cack. But the chain match sort of made up for it by just being really good, and then the cash in, big good moment and all that. Yeah, it's just like it doesn't. It seems like to say it was. I think you mentioned a lot of the word a lot, Tim. It's filler, a lot of filler, and then the chamber match. Not one to go out your way to watch, or really to watch.
So there we go. Thank you very much for joining us, people. We're going to wrap it up there. I very much enjoyed this evening. Thank you to Mal and thank you to Eloise. Thank you to Clutter the L for being so quiet all the way through this. He's done a very good job. I love your sunglasses, pal. Right. Happy Christmas to everybody. If this comes out before Christmas, if it comes out after, I hope you had a very nice Christmas. Or holidays or whatever you want to call them. So thank you very much. And until next time, goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.